What's up, everyone? Michael Ray here, Walk-Ins Welcome, and I am doing a quick intro to an episode from the past. The past couple of weeks, we've had vacations and other things, and it's summertime, as you all know, and so we are taking some time off here and there. We do have interviews coming up through the podcast we're very excited about, but in between, we're going to have some filler episodes. So this episode aired sometime last year, and it's Lyn Askin with EOS. The reason why we wanted this episode to go out, we recognize that summers are project time for urgent cares. So if you're looking as an urgent care, if you're looking for a project for the summer that you want to say, this is a great time to implement this, EOS may be that perfect project. It is it's Entrepreneurial Operating System. And what it does, it allows you to operate your business in a more structured way, which is actually can help you grow overall, because we're all about growth here on the podcast. We want your urgent care to grow. Sometimes not through marketing, sometimes just through operational changes. So please take a listen and enjoy. Also, as a side note, we do have a webinar coming up that's about front desk. It's an extension of my talk from UCA Dallas back in May. It's going to be June 26th at 12 p.m. Eastern, and it's all about how to take that next step, how to hire that front desk that's going to actually do some more selling for you, not just taking the phone call for customer service. And it's all designed to hopefully give you everything you need to make that good hire, the proper training, and once again, you're growing your clinic because you're focusing on the right things. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. Thanks.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? You're listening to another episode of Walk-Ins Welcome with Nick and Michael, and I am very excited to have my friend Lyn Askin, who's going to be doing an interview with us today. But as always, we're here to help you get more patients. We want to help you deliver better care. We want those repeat visits and to scale your clinic. Lyn, what's up, buddy? Welcome to the show. We're glad to have you. I'm going to do a quick intro, but say hi to the audience real quick before I do that and tell us one thing about you that nobody else knows.
Oh my gosh. Hey, everybody. It's so good to be here. Thanks for having me on, you guys. I really appreciate it. One thing about me that nobody knows, and I don't want to say nobody, but I promise you nobody on this call knows, that at one point in my life, I was a blackjack dealer in Las Vegas. And that sounds a little funny, but I dealt in the high limit pit at the Mirage in Las Vegas when the Mirage was the biggest casino in the world. And I dealt in the high limit pit. So I dealt to every celebrity sports star that you can imagine. I dealt to Michael Jordan 100 times. I dealt to Wayne Gretzky, Dan Marino, all kinds of celebrities and stars. So that's a long time ago in my career, but it's just a fun little fact.
That's pretty cool. I'll take it.
Well, that's kind of wild. I could imagine you have some fun stories, and people aren't always who you think they are.
Yeah,
I'm positive of that.
That doesn't quite top the last one that said that he was in jail. So, so like you're not in jail, but you're in Vegas.
Like years in jail. Yeah. Well,
yes,
listen,
I have not been in jail yet. Let's keep it that way. I have no plans on going. Let's keep it on the up and up and stay out of that place.
You hang around a couple of our mutual friends, you may wind up there if you're not careful.
There you go.
So let me make the connection real quick. So for those of you listening, Lyn Askin has become a friend of mine. You've heard on this podcast multiple times that we're a part of Seven Figure Agency. That's the connection that Lyn and I have. And Lyn had a digital marketing agency, and he built it and grew it and wound up selling it. And I don't want to get into your story, Lyn, but during that process, you went through a pretty big life event that caused you to get into what's called EOS. And we're going to talk about EOS on the podcast today.
Yes.
That's the main topic for today is an operating system for your clinic, for your business. But Lyn, how did you get to that place? That's what I want to hear.
Nick, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I delivered the Las Vegas Review Journal when I was 9 years old, had a mobile disc jockey company at one point in my life, started building computers in my early 20s. I launched one of the first online auctions in 1996. I built my first e-commerce store in 1997. And like anybody else, I started helping other people, kind of navigate the online world that was out there. And so over the last, 20, 25 years, I built and scaled and grew a digital marketing agency. I had the same challenges that everybody else has. All business is tough. I had there's a kind of a lack of clear vision about who we were, who we serve, where we were headed. There was maybe a lack of real buy-in and commitment from our team, maybe because of that lack of clear vision. And then, of course, we had a lack of accountability probably all the way to the top. And so, we had some of those same challenges. Despite all of that, we probably were succeeding in spite of ourselves, and actually had a really nice business. But in 2020, Nick, as you know, I suffered a massive pulmonary embolism. I collapsed in my yard, got raced to the ICU. And, and people say that your life sort of flashes before your eyes as you're dying. And a little bit kind of happened with me. But the main thing that I was consumed with as I was lying there fighting for my life was, what kind of mess did I just leave my wife and son?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a business, Nick. I had a job. That business relied 100% on me. If I'd have died that day, my business would have died with me. My wife would have had to go to our office. She would have had to lock the doors. She would have had to fire all of our employees, lose all of our clients. And that would have been some of her last memories of me, is just locking that place up and dealing with the aftermath. Thank God I survived. It's giving me goosebumps, but I survived. I'm here. I still haven't figured out the real reason why I'm still here. But what I do know is that I had to make a change in my life. I had to make a change in my life, had to make a change in my business. And I started researching, like, how do I grow and scale this business? How do I make this a business that I own and I'm not responsible for every single item that happens in this business? How do I make this something that I can take myself out of the day to day? And honestly, it's kind of when I found EOS. Now, I had found the book Traction in 2014, and I read it and I thought, oh, that's nice. And I put it on the shelf with all the other ones back there. But this wake up call that I got was a big one. And I knew I needed a change. So I tried to self-implement EOS, and I struggled a little bit. EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more. But eventually I hired a professional EOS implementer, came into our business, helped us gain structure where there was none. And over the next year and a half, maybe 2 years, we 7x'd our revenue. We 3x'd our profits. We grew from 10 employees to 27. Most importantly, I was able to take myself out of the day-to-day operations of the business, which freed me up to do things that I loved, which is coaching and things like that, and just sort of naturally led me to a progression of EOS. I say that EOS changed my life, but honestly, it could probably save my life. The stress of running a business and the difficulty of trying to, we're all entrepreneurs. We launch these things because we love it. We don't necessarily qualified, or we're not necessarily qualified or have the skills to actually run a business.
I think it goes for most of them. The skills are being developed in real time.
Oh, of course. And so this framework that EOS gave us, again, changed my life. But I think I'd like to say that it saved my life, and then which culminated in me being out of the day-to-day, me growing a business that was scalable, that wasn't 100% dependent on me. It became attractive, and we were acquired last September. We sold our agency on September 1st. So nice. That story gives you some indication of why I'm just so passionate about EOS and sharing this journey and this system and this framework with other businesses. I want you to achieve that same success and freedom that I acquired.
Man. Yeah. So taking audience pause right here, think about your business right now. It's the run over by a school bus test. Can it run without you right now? Can your family do what it needs to do without you? Does the company simply close its doors because you're no longer there? If you're saying, I don't know, or yes, or you're just not sure what the answer really could be, or it scares you to think about that, this is the episode you need to listen to, because this is something that we all know in the back of our heads, but we just think, I'm going to live forever. And then you have all these 40 and 50-year-old owners are dropping dead occasionally. We've heard them, right? They get overstressed, Lyn, you were on the edge type of thing. And so I think people forget that. I mean, and I know we talked to a lot of doctors on this podcast from an audience standpoint. You guys have been under a ton of stress the past 3 or 4 years. That's not normal. And so I think just that moment, can my business be a business? Because if it relies 100% on one person, it's not really a business. It's just you and a bunch of people.
Right. So I want to,
it's a job, and you kind of have an idiot for a boss.
There you
looking
go.
in the mirror every day. So I want to make a comment to you, a quote, and then I want to build the entire rest of the episode off of this quote. Okay. Craig Groeschel is an amazing business leader, and he runs the largest church in the nation. And he said, you either rise to the level of your systems or you fail by them.
Yeah.
That's his quote. So let's start with that, because EOS is that system that solves that problem. What is EOS? Build it off that quote.
Beautiful. So let me start by telling you that EOS was created by a man named Gino Wickman. Gino Wickman is the author of a book called Traction. Gino was a lifelong entrepreneur, like a lot of us. Started in his family business at the age of 21. Found that business was in need of a turnaround. Worked with the leadership team to sort of turn that business around over a period of 3 or 7 years. That ended up selling the business. And during that same period, he became one of the first members of the Detroit EO chapter. You're probably familiar with EO chapters around the world. And he discovered that he had a real passion or a knack for the art and science of running a truly great business. And when he retired from his business, he decided to, or he began to cobble together EOS. Now, EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's no magic beans. There's no silver bullets. It's real world practical tools that have been around 100 years, probably going to be around 100 more, 1,000 more. But it's just a set of real world practical tools on how to run your business. And EOS is really designed to help you get better at three things. Number one, vision. Number two, traction. And number three, healthy. Let me explain those for you really quickly. By vision, what I mean is making sure that you and your team and your leadership team are 100% on the same page about where you're going and how you're going to get there. Traction means instilling that discipline and accountability so that when you look at your business from top to bottom and you look at your team, you see people 100% executing on your vision. And then three, healthy. What we mean by that is we want to help make you guys a more cohesive, functional, fun-loving team that honestly enjoys working together. Because if we're honest, most of the time we're not. Okay. And the EOS model or system is really designed to help you guys get better at about 6 key components of your business. So, we're entrepreneurs. Like, we're used to dealing with 136 simultaneous issues, right? We're getting peppered with issues all day long, every day.
Right.
But what we found is that to the extent that you can strengthen just 6 key components of your business, those 136 issues seem to fall into place because they're really just symptoms of a deeper root cause.
Yeah.
So if we can solve and make you better in your vision component, and again, this is about, creating a plan 100% so we're all on the same page about where we're going and how we're going to get there. And then we solve your people component. This is about getting the right people in the right seats. And we solve your data component, which is running your big business on real facts and figures and numbers and not emotions and subjective stuff, the things that usually drive our decision-making process. Okay. And then we got to work on your issues component. The issues is about taking those 136 simultaneous issues that hit us every day and prioritizing, having a system to get the most important things done this week, solve them at the root for the greater good of the business. Then, of course, we have your process component, which is about getting your business systems and processes, kind of your core processes, really documented and followed by all. And then, of course, the traction component. The traction component sits at the bottom of the model, and there's no coincidence that it's at the bottom of the model, because we need to bring our vision down to the ground and execute on it. Because if we can't do that, then we say vision without traction is hallucination.
Oh, that's
so
good.
Traction is really about
I like a good quote.
About putting that discipline and accountability in place so that you guys can execute on that vision. Most entrepreneurs' visions go unrealized because of a weakness right there in that traction component.
So I wrote down a note here that you said processes followed. And we have just found in our own organization that we've got great processes in place, but typically following those processes doesn't always, just that execution doesn't always happen.
I think we take a little bit of a different approach than most when it comes to documenting processes. We all have a handful of core processes, how we go out and create demand in the marketplace, which is kind of our marketing process, how we turn that demand into clients and patients and that's sort of our sales processes. We have process around operations and how we, kind of deliver our products and services. We have processes around finance to control the money going in and out. We have processes around how we hire and fire and train and handhold our team. We have processes around how we treat our clients. We just have a handful of core processes. And what we find is that most companies spend a lot of time trying to get their processes all dialed into 100%. And they spend a lot of extra effort getting every little detail down. What they end up with is a 700-page SOP manual that nobody ever looks at.
Yes.
So we take a different approach. We do a 20-80 approach. We get 20% of the main steps of the core processes down that get us 80% of the way there. And then, of course, we have a system to make sure that they're followed by all. So that's the approach we take. It's sort of a 20-80 approach there because we want to make sure that we are doing the most important things the right way and the best way every single time.
So I love the 20-80 approach, simplifying a process that can actually be followed, right? I think one of the things of systemization does it puts a playbook, just like you were talking about, puts a playbook in place that everybody can follow, and it can be followed over and over again. But more importantly, that process is now setting you up to remove or to delegate, right?
That's correct. There's one of the big pieces of EOS is our ability. We call it the delegate and elevate. And so, your unique ability, it's really a Dan Sullivan term from Strategic Coach. We sort of co-opted it in EOS. Again, this is a cobbled together system of a lot of different ideas and concept. But in Strategic Coach, Dan Sullivan talks about your unique ability, and he talks about how you should be doing the things that you're great at and that you love. The things that you're not great at and that you don't love, you shouldn't be doing those things. Those aren't your unique ability. And so we use, our accountability charts and things like that to be able to delegate and elevate.
I love I believe it's Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. It says 80% done by somebody else is 100% freaking awesome.
That is one of my favorite quotes in the whole world. Yep.
Do what now?
That's one of my favorite quotes in the whole world.
Yeah, it's a good one. I love it. I need to put that up somewhere, but then my whole team will start trying to find somebody else to do their job. So I have to be
you want it to be awesome, right?
Yeah, I want it to be awesome, but all of a sudden to have 60 people trying to hand off work to 60 other people anyway. No, that's a great quote, especially for the business owner.
It's really difficult to let go of those processes that you think that only you can do. It's a little joke we tell in EOS. We talk about an entrepreneur. He falls off a 1,000-foot cliff, or maybe it's 2,000-foot cliff, and he falls off the cliff about halfway down. He grabs onto this vine, and he's hanging from this vine, and he looks down at the craggly rocks below, and then he looks above, and he can't go up, he can't go down, and in a moment of spirituality, he looks up at the heavens and he says, "Is there anybody up there?" And sure enough, a voice bellows down from above, and he says, "I'm here. Do you believe?" And the entrepreneur says, "Well, yeah, I believe." And the voice says, "Well, then let go of the vine." So the entrepreneur looks down at the rocks below, looks above, and he says, "Is there anybody else up there?"
Yeah.
And so the idea of being able to let go of the vine, we have to let go of that vine so that we can delegate and elevate. We got to be able to not do every single task in our business. So again, EOS is designed to put systems and processes in place to help you do that.
Well, and I see it here every single time that we're able to take something away from Nick, the company benefits.
Oh, it does.
And there's
it's not even close.
And there's usually a change that comes in a good way, but like something has changed or something's been added or something's been adjusted, or like, hey, why aren't we doing better at this? Right. But when you're knee deep because we're down a production person, you don't get any change. You just get like, we're getting through this type of thing.
Well, especially me being not a high detail person.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm a visionary.
I think it's a great time to talk about the difference between a visionary and an integrator. I mean,
you're looking at them, brother.
Yeah. This is perfect. This is a perfect example. We love our visionaries, but there are things that they're good at and there are things that they're not good at.
Mm.
They're great at vision. They're great at company culture. They're great at 30,000 foot view. They're great at bringing 100 ideas to every meeting, right? Those are things they're great at.
So audience, you're listening. Are you that visionary? Are you the person that has new ideas all the time and people just roll their eyes at you, and you're trying to say, what's the next best thing we can be doing? Is that you? Maybe.
Yeah, it's very possible that you're a visionary, but you struggle getting the things done. And so we need that other role, that we need that integrator, that second in command, so to speak. I don't want to create a hierarchy here or anything, but it's the person that helps execute on that company vision. It's Roy Disney to Walt Disney. It's Steve Wozniak to Steve Jobs. It's Hewlett to Packard. It's the visionary and the integrator. Those two roles just go together so perfectly because they're just completely different skills.
Lyn, have you seen the video of the drunk dancing guy in the middle of the field at a concert? And it's a full explanation.
Hey, nobody was
on
supposed
leadership.
to see that. Hey, hang on.
Okay, yeah, right. No,
that's who it was.
Yeah. Okay. I love the explanation. I'll find the video and I'll send it to you. But if you can do the visual here, because you're talking about second in command, which really is the most important. And the reason I say that is you have the big dancing with a shirt tore off drunk dude that's dancing, acting like an idiot, and everybody's making fun of him until the first person comes and joins him. Yes. And once that happens, everybody piles on because it went from being that dude's an idiot to, oh, he's onto something there. We just needed somebody to activate that vision.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Yes, I've seen that. I didn't understand the context of there, but 100%. Yes, I love it.
So I'm just kidding.
Which one of you,
you're following a dancing idiot.
Well, I mean, and that goes back to, because I remember, Nick, you always said like, when you were like, I'm going to start Nick the Marketer, it was all your family like, don't do that.
Oh yeah.
Don't be stupid. Why are you doing that? And now you flip the script. Can I come work for you?
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
There is a concept of, if you have a bucket full of crabs and one crab tries to crawl out, all the other crabs try to pull them back down. I mean, it's a strange thing, and it often happens to the people closest to you.
Well, the practical application. Oh man, I stepped on you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say that happens a lot, and it's quite often it's the people closest to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like, well, I hope that works out for you. Yeah, you can just hear the disappointment or that ain't going to work or whatever in their ears.
Or what do you say you do?
Going back to the practical application of EOS, you talked about vision, you talked about traction, you talked about the health of the organization. There's some practical application, and I specifically want to talk about it from an urgent care, because I will tell you that doctors have to be business owners, but they're not trained how to do that in medical school. I mean, there are a few business owners who are trained how to do it, but they're specifically not trained to do it.
Well, like, and I have a couple of friends that become doctors, and I remember one of my friends like, yeah, we had 1 or 2 business classes. I don't know how you guys think like that. And I'm like, yeah, we're not memorizing stuff. Because he was so frustrated with the business class he took. He's like, yeah, they didn't give us the answer. They said, just here's a situation. What should you do? Like, well, there was no answer. It's just kind of like a guess. I'm like, yeah, that's about right.
I think this is a great point to make. I think I made it earlier, but those of us that have a passion for something, we might be selling something, or we might be caring for people, and that might be what that's what we want to do. But doesn't qualify us to run a business. It doesn't we don't have the skills to do that. And so EOS is designed to build that leadership team around a visionary so that your vision is actually being executed on. And so there's just so many great parts about it. One of the things that I do want to talk about a little bit is the fact that a lot of people spend a lot of time. I want you to understand this concept of both healthy and smart. Okay. A lot of us spend a lot of time on being smart. This is the things that we do. This is how we deliver the things that we deliver. It's how we grow, how we, all of those things, but we forget and we don't spend enough time on healthy. And healthy is about being open and honest and accountable and having tough conversations and having a culture of being able to raise your hand and say, hey, we've got a problem here. The problem is not between us, it's in front of us. So if we can stick that thing out on the table and solve it together, we build health, and we build team health, and we build culture. And so I think, I don't know, there's just such a combination, because you can't just have one thing strong. You can't just be strong in sales and be crappy in fulfillment or in operations or finance. All of your
or bedside manner or front desk.
Right. I mean, you could be the best doctor in the world and have a difficult front desk person, or vice versa. I don't know, but
we have a really good doctor that we work with, and they get 1-star review after 1-star review after 1-star review, because culturally he's just because of his background and ethnicity, very direct, very, I don't know, I'm trying to sum it up. I mean, super nice guy, but like just not a bedside manner. And that's what we see in his reviews all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can be good at all these things, but one area of weakness will kill and tank your momentum and your progress and your profit, all of those things.
Yeah. I think doctors sometimes miss the point of you're fantastic at treating people and taking care of the sicknesses, but it's everything else around it that you have to have other people involved, and you have to also hold them accountable. Because I think sometimes a lot of people just kind of set and forget. I hired you for this front desk position. I don't have to verify anything until I hear a bunch of complaints. Well, you've waited too long, because those complaints are all the symptoms of bigger issues that you've just ignored, that like EOS could easily help identify before your customer does.
I think there's the power of EOS really. I was thinking about your doctor example. I was thinking about the guy that goes to medical school and he launches his practice, and people like him and things like that. To build your practice, there's a couple of things you can do. I mean, there's hard work. Well, let's just start with guesswork. There's guesswork, we can guess. There's hard work, and then there's framework. EOS gives you the framework to build your business. This gives you the opportunity to grow your business without having to invent everything yourself. You don't have to invent how to build your accountability chart. You don't have to invent how you're going to have your meetings. You don't have to invent how you're going to set goals and plan and do your annuals and quarterlies and do team building. That all is already done for you, and you just need to work within the process or have a good guide to guide you through that process to put a system like this in place. Inventing it is difficult.
So someone gets excited and says, hey, listen, I'm a doctor or I'm a practice manager, and we do some things that are really right, but there's definitely opportunity for us to get playbooks or to get structured or to figure out our vision, mission, values, all of these different kinds of things. I don't even know where to start. Step one, like, where does somebody need to start? 2, what should they really be doing? I'm just not going to read a book. I'm like, this is the action steps you really need to think through. Help me understand that for a clinic.
Sure. So let me talk you through kind of the natural progression of EOS, and I'll give you a couple of options here. I would say that most people find out about EOS because they're looking for help, and they're looking for a business book, or they're looking for some guide, and they run across either the book called Traction by Gino Wickman or a book called Get a Grip. Now, Traction is the manual of EOS. It describes the system. It lays it all out. It's very, for lack of a better term, like clinical, like it's just written out. That might be a great book for a doctor. I'm not 100%
sure.
Yeah. It's very sterile. Like, there's not a lot of.
It's the hardest audiobook you'll ever listen to.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, if you're a visionary, I highly recommend the book Get a Grip. The Get a Grip is it's the fable of EOS, and it'll talk you through a company that's kind of struggling along, and they hire an implementer, and he comes in and he changes the culture of this business and helps them put structure and business in place. Now, that's a great place to start. If you're really interested in EOS at that point, reach out to me or reach out to another EOS implementer. I'm easy to find. I have a very, very uncommon name. I think I'm the only Lyn Askin on the planet. So easy to find. I'm sure we'll put a link in a show note here somewhere where you can reach out to me. You can find me on all the social medias and things like that. But let's just jump on a quick 15-minute discovery call. Let's just talk about your business and talk about EOS. The next step after that is to schedule what we call our 90-minute meeting. It's an absolutely free call. We're going to jump on a call with you, me, and your team, your leadership team. I'm going to learn a little bit about you. You're going to learn a little bit about us. I'm going to show you, I'm going to open up the EOS fire hose, and I'm going to show you EOS tools and how we help you get more of what you want from your practice. Okay? Then I'm going to show you the process on what it's like to work with me from the time you start thinking about working with me all the way until you're a satisfied client and we're just running your quarterlies and annuals and you guys are growing and scaling. So 90-minute meeting, it's absolutely free. I think it's a great introduction to EOS. If you want to skip the books, you can do that. We can just get on a call and schedule a 90-minute meeting.
I want to encourage everybody who's listening that may not have this process in place. You want to do some things here, right? You want to build your business in such a way that it is learnable, teachable, and duplicatable. Like you need to be able to pass information all throughout
sellable too.
That was going to be my other one is like, you need to be able to remove yourself from the day-to-day with the exception of being a doctor, but just the day-to-day operations. And then 3, build your clinic to sell. That doesn't mean you have to sell it, but you build it to sell, which means by default, you're going to remove your emotion from it and you're going to run it like an actual business.
Well, and then, can you take a month off and will it keep going?
That's right.
Like that simple of a question.
And it's been my experience that implementing EOS, Lyn being, in my mind, the best at it, implementing EOS into your organization is going to do those 3 things. It's going to systemize, it's going to remove you from the day-to-day operations, and it's going to build it to sell. Lyn, anything to add to that before we part?
I think the only thing that I might want to add is when we get together in a room and I'm here to help you get more of what you want from your business. I want to make sure that we really understand what we want, because I guess I want to tell you to be careful what you ask for, because if whatever it is that you list, we're going to help you get that. It's going to happen with this process. We're going to grow your business. We're going to scale your business. We're going to get you more of what you want. I think, I've drank all of the EOS Kool-Aid, right? I say that it changed my life, but honestly, it saved my life. And it made such a difference in our business. And, I went from struggling in our business, just making enough money to get by. Look, we had a good life and things like that, but it's never enough. Team was, I had to build a bigger business. I had to build a better business, because one of my favorite quotes, it was Ed Milet said that you have to build your dreams so large that all of your team's dream can fit inside.
That's good.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's good.
One of my favorite quotes. And, what I want for you and for your business and for your practice is I want you to have a business that your team can see themselves having a career there. I want them to see a future and a vision for this company, that they're not out looking for something new. I want them to have a place that they can grow into and they can see structure, vision, future, so that you're not constantly churning not only patients, but team. So we've got to build something for you that your entire team can rally around, and they rally around it because we build it together. When we build your core values, we build them together. When we build your plan, we build it together. And so that's one of the most important parts of EOS is we take you and your leadership team, and I work with you and your leadership team to build your future company.
So good.
That's good. Well, I think on that note, it's a very strong, we all want that, right?
Yep.
So Lyn, thank you so much for coming on today. I've enjoyed it. I know I've been drinking the EOS stuff for a few months now, but just hearing it from you though, just a strong reminder, it does make a difference. So thank you again for coming on today, Lyn. Thank the audience for coming and listening to this. And I can't wait to see. I want to bring you back, right? Kind of bring you back and go in more depth, because now everybody knows what EOS is. Now let's go into some strong in detail pieces too in the near future.
I would love that. I would love to do a webinar with you guys, with you and your audience, whatever works for you. I'm clearly passionate about EOS, and I want to help more people achieve their goals and their dreams. And so I'm up for all of it.
I think a webinar would be the next right step for us.
Yeah, that'd be good.
With that, thank you guys for listening to us. Lyn, thanks for being a guest on the podcast. We will catch you all next week.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Lyn. He's amazing at what he does. EOS has made a big impact to our company. I know he can make a big impact for yours. If you're looking for that project, this may have been the project to go after. Reach out to him. He can get you started in the right direction. It'll be fantastic. Also, as a quick reminder, we do have that webinar that's all about the front desk training, hiring, and how to do things right with that front desk beyond just customer service, getting into that sales role. That's actually June 26th at 12 p.m. Eastern. It's a webinar. We do always record, so you can get replay later. So please just go ahead and sign up, and we'll see you then. Thanks.